So you want to get into the Digimon card game, but you're not really sure where to start because there's so much hype recently with the new sets coming up, and there's a whole bunch of new cards too. Well, this video is actually perfect for you as I'll be introducing the brand new starter deck, Ultimate Ancient Dragon, focusing on a strategy guide for this deck to help you out. Hello Digimon players and fans, welcome back to another Digimon deck profile and guide video. This brand new starter deck focuses on Imperialdramon as its main Digimon. For those who have been following my channel for a while, you probably know that Imperial is one of my favorite decks to play in this card game overall. Competitively, it's extremely powerful, it's extremely strong, and it has a lot of punch. It's very easy to pilot and learn as well, which I really highly recommend it for new players like you. With a budget of $30, you can get yourself 2 copies of this deck and start playing right away. I'll be opening this deck today to go through the cards and talk about them, but also showcasing my very own guide and build utilizing 2 copies together. There will also be a quick strategy and combo segment afterwards to teach you guys how to play this deck, so be sure to stay tuned as well. Now, I know some of you guys who are watching right now are more interested in the fully equipped competitive version of this deck instead, and we'll be adding a lot of all the other cards within the Digimon card pool to build a fully fledged competitive version that I would actually take to tournaments. And if you can't wait for that, then be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell to know as soon as that video comes alive. Also give this video a like as it just really helps. Now let's get opening first. Alright guys, we finally got these to open up with all of you, and I'm just super excited because it's Imperial, right? I'm always excited for new product anyways, and yeah, let's open one box first. And starter deck, Ultimate Ancient Dragon. Yeah, got all the context at the back, you actually got the card list on the side. I can't wait to play this deck. I can't wait to showcase you guys how powerful and how insanely strong this deck really is. So, basically that's just the deck. Pretty big box for just this deck. I think they could probably make the box a bit smaller. And yeah, let's just go through all this good stuff right here for the opening. So, for our Digi-Egg, we have a Minomon. While you have a blue Digimon in play, this Digimon gets extra 1000 DP. So this deck is basically like a green base. And yeah, we obviously get 4 of these right here. And then we got the Vmon, which is really important for any Vmon strategies out there. Everyone's just waiting for this Vmon and trying to get this Vmon. Especially me. There's a lot of decks that I've been trying to build are heavily held back because of not being able to get this access of this Vmon right here. Basically, this is your searcher, and you get to add free traits into your hand, and that's basically anything in the line of Vmon. So you only get 2 copies, which is why you need to buy 2 copies of the deck so you can get your playset of the Vmon, and 4 is really important. We got the Betamon, which can digivolve on top of a blue or green right here. So of course we have the 4 copies of that. We got the X-Vmon. This one's the brand new one. When you would play this card from your hand, you can reduce the cost by 1 if there's a green Digimon on the board. Very nice. You can actually see Vdramon right there. Vdramon 0 or Vdramon and Demi Vmon right there. Really cool. It has an inheritable when attacking. If you have a green, it gets an extra 1000 DP as well. So these are essentially like 3 cost champions, which are really good. And you got 4 copies of that. And right here, we're already jumping into our level 5s. Where is the Stingmon, by the way? Okay. Maybe we'll get to see it in a bit. So this one's the Imperialdramon. DNA Digivolution requires a level 4 blue and a level 4 green, and you digivolve for free on top of each other. When you do DNA Digivolve, you get to return one of your opponent's Digimon with 6000 DP or less back to the bottom of their deck. Bottom of their decking cards is just really good because it denies access to them regardless of what deck they're playing. So I really like this Imperialdramon, and man, look at this beautiful textured artwork card right here. You know, once again, Bandai, amazing job, and this is just so cool. Like, these card designs and artworks with the textures and the holo is just so pretty to look at, and they're just Absolutely stunning. It does have a second effect. When attacking once per turn, you get to unsuspend this Digimon. So Imperialdramon, really good doing Imperialdramon things. And then we also have a Imperialdramon Dragon Mode. Now this one's not any DNA form. You basically can Digivolve on top of a blue or green, level 5 for the cost of 4. However, this is really interesting because Imperial is all about like going strong, going hand with one stack. But with the introduction of this card, you basically, when Digivolving, you get to play a level 4 or lower blue and one level 4 or lower green Digimon within its sources without paying its memory cost. That means this deck starts to go a little bit wide, and by doing so, you can actually you can DNA Digivolve the other 2 cards that you get to play and continue your plays, which is really, really cool. So Imperialdramon is absolutely fascinating. This card is really, really cool. I love being able to see his attack move right there. The pose is okay for me. A bit too much of the body going on, but still a very, very nice, awesome card to look at 100%. So I guess that is like our blue cards. Now we're moving into our green cards. They separated it this time this way. So moving into our green rookie right here, we got a Kabuterimon, which is basically a blocker. And we got 4 copies of it. We have Wormmon. This can also Digivolve on top of a green and blue and has a inheritable of end of your turn. You can DNA Digivolve this Digimon with any of your other Digimon in play. And DNA Digivolve into that Digimon from your hand without paying memory, by paying its DNA cost, basically. Okay, so that's pretty good, but we don't really play this in a competitive deck, I would say, but definitely needed. You definitely need to play as many rookies as you can. And we got Stingmon, so there he is. Basically same as XVmon because it's a 3 cost, 3 cost level 4. They combo very well together. And then next we got the level 4 Sneemon right here. It's a security Digimon, comes out at the end of the security, and then when it pops out, you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So basically like BlackWarGreymon and GeoGreymon. So we got 2 copies of those. And moving on into our other DNA level 5, we got Dinobemon. This time you require a level 4 green and a level 4 blue. When Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. And when DNA Digivolving, that Digimon doesn't unsuspend during the opponent's next suspend phase. So a little bit of a control aspect, which is really nice. This one doesn't have texture, but this one is just like a regular rare holo right here. Fantastic. And we got 4 copies of it, of course. Now we got Jewelbemon, just a cheap level 5 2 cost vanilla, and 4 copies of it as well. Yeah. Now we got Grand Kuwagamon. This is your secondary level 6 of the deck. And it has security +1, and when Digivolving, this Digimon gets 4000 DP for a turn, making it 15k, pretty strong, can swing over things, deal massive damage, and this is just a rare as well, and it's also holo. There's a lot of holo cards in here, which is fantastic. And then we have Megadeth, the most powerful blue and green option, or the strongest option for Imperial right here. Imperialdramon's signature move. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to its owner's hand. Just for a 5 cost like this, fantastic card, really strong, 2 copies of. And then we have Hell Masquerade, which is Dinobemon's signature move. Main, one of your Digimon gets extra 2000 DP per turn. Then you have a blue Digimon in play. One of your Digimon gets piercing. Okay, so extra damage, piercing, quite neat. We got 4 of those. That's a lot of options. And then we have a new, not like a new, but like a reprint of an alternate art of Flower Cannon right here. It looks very nice actually. Suspend one of your opponent's Digimon main, and then Flower Cannon security is basically suspend all your opponent's Digimon without blockers. So very good defensive option card right here. So that's the end, and right here we got the 2 memory gauges of Dinobemon and Imperialdramon together. They look absolutely fantastic side by side. Love the holographic. They look really nice, and then the back is just, you know, metal shiny. So that's the opening. So let's quickly open up this second booster box right here, and then let's build and showcase you guys the budget deck build that I came up with utilizing 2 copies. Alright, so deck profile time. So after opening up the other box and sort of putting the 2 copies together, this is what I came up for you guys for the budget deck profile with Imperialdramon right here. So As always, start with the Digi Eggs. We only have one choice, which is the Minomon right here. 4 copies of it, maximizing as many as you can. And then it basically gives you 1000 DP if you have a blue Digimon on play, basically, which is, yeah. So moving into our rookies, we of course first off must have 4 copies of Vmon right here. Like I mentioned earlier, this is your main searcher. It searches for anything that's free in its traits, allowing you to grab anything within the Imperialdramon Digivolution line, and that's why you want to maximize that forward. This is normally the Digimon you want to hard play, so you can do your searching, get your combo pieces to see your Digivolutions there. And yeah, that's Vmon. Next up, we have the Betamon, basically just a vanilla that can Digivolve on top of a green or blue Digi Egg, and we don't only play the Minomon, so it can Digivolve on top of Minomon easily, and then we get to draw. That's really all it does for Digivolving and drawing. Next up, we have Wormmon, which is Vmon's partner, and Wormmon basically is end of your turn, you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one of your other Digimon in play into a Digimon card in your hand by paying its DNA Digivolution cost. This card is really good because often enough you may pass your memory over to your opponent by hard playing something, hard play a level 4, and then when you pass the memory to your opponent, at the end of the turn you can do your DNA Digivolving, so you can resolve a bunch of effects just before passing to your opponent, and that's really the whole purpose of it, and generally this works quite well in most cases basically. And then last but not least, to round up for all our maximized rookie counts, we have the 4 copies of Kabuterimon. This is your blocker, defensive capabilities. That's really it with him. So yeah, that's it for the rookies. Now let's move on to the champions. The first off, let's showcase you guys the 4 copies of XVmon right here. And then also we have the 4 copies of Stingmon right here. They basically cooperate or synergize greatly together because each of them have the same effect. XVmon is if you have a green Digimon play, reduce the cost by 1, the hard play cost, and then Stingmon is if you have a blue in play, you reduce the cost of it to hard play to 1 as well. So having each other on them makes it very easy to hard play your level 4s, and then once you get into your level 4s easily, you can really quickly DNA Digivolve, and that's the whole purpose of these 2 cards. They both offer different inheritables. XVmon gives you extra 1000 DP if you have a green Digimon when attacking, and then Stingmon gives you draw 1, where Stingmon usually is the better one because drawing cards is just nicer. So that's the 2 of them right here. And then to sum up for our level 4s, we do have the 4 copies of Snymon, not too sure how to pronounce its name, but this card is basically your security Digimon. It will come out of security after the battle, and then you get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Free body from security is just fantastic because a level 4 for free means more DNA Digivolving quickly. So that's why you want to play 4 copies of this guy too. So that's it for the level 4s. Let's finally show you guys the level 5s, which are where we're moving into our boss Digimon and boss monsters of the deck. First off, we do have the 4 copies of Imperialdramon right here. Imperialdramon requires a blue and green to DNA Digivolve. Keep in mind that you have to follow the procedures of how the text is written for DNA Digivolution. Basically, I'll go a little bit more elaborate in the combo segment when we get into it, but that basically means you have to stack your blue stack on top of your green stack. And then when Digivolving, return your opponent's 6000 DP or less Digimon to the bottom of the deck. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a really good effect because returning to something back to the bottom deck means they can't really access it anymore. It's even, I would argue it's definitely better than returning to hand, or even better than sending it to trash against some matchups. And then once return when attacking, you get to unsuspend this Digimon to make powerful swings, multiple checks during the time. That's what how you want to play your Imperialdramon. And then we got 4 copies of Dinobemon, which is your other DNA Digivolution right here. This one basically suspends one of your opponent's Digimon, and then if it's DNA Digivolve, they cannot unsuspend during their unsuspend phase. So this one's a bit more control, but it does offer an inheritable where your turn this Digimon gets 1000 DP for each of its color. Which really helps your top end and bumps up its DP. So that's basically what Dinobemon does. And then to round off for the level 5s, we do have the 2 copies of the Dual Bemon right here. Dual Bemon is just an extra level 5 that we can, cheaply Digivolve on top of a level 4 when needed to for 2 costs, and then it helps us bridge into our level 6s a little bit faster. So that's it for the level 5s. For the level 6s, we have the 4 copies of Imperialdramon Dragon Mode right here. This is your boss monster, boss Digimon, the top end of the deck. Overall, I want to say that this deck can actually function quite well without it, but having it is always a very nice play to actually get into, because its effect allows you to play, when Digivolving, play 1 blue and 1 green level 4 underneath its sources, making your board wide. And then when I showcase you guys the combo later, you basically also get to DNA Digivolve more afterwards by playing those level 4s, because you have a level 5 in hand that you can go into your DNAs, which is really neat, really nice. This helps you go wide, make extra strings, and apply more pressure into your opponent, which is why this card you gotta run at 4 anyways for this budget variant. And then for our substitute or secondary level 6, right here we have the BlackWarGreymon. This one's the aggressive one where you get a security +1 in general, and then when Digivolving during the turn, it basically gets 4000 DP, making it 15, and you can swing for 2 checks, survives a lot of things, which is really good. It's also really cheap to Digivolve because it only costs 3, so that's basically BlackWarGreymon. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our options. We have Megadeth. Like I explained earlier, this card is just great for removal for such how affordable cost it is. You can just bounce or return something to someone to your opponent's hand for 5 costs. It's just really good. You also get to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon as well, and yeah, I definitely like this card at 4. And then our other option is Hell Masquerade, basically to get more DP, swing with piercing. That's really what it all does. So that wraps up for the 50 card main deck. For the options, I do have another suggestion. If you guys like defensive instead, you can definitely play 2 flower cannons. You can swap out 2 of the Megadeths instead. I like removal generally more than sort of like what flower cannon does, but some of you guys might want to feel a bit more safe when your opponent does swing aggressively into your security, and flower cannon can sort of keep you surviving and keep you alive a little bit in some certain matchups. So, you know, I can definitely also suggest, you know, adding 1 or 2 if you guys want to, and swap some other options out. But yeah, that's basically it for the entire deck profile here. So now that we got the deck profile completed, let's show you guys sort of like a combo segment or strategy guide, or how to play DNA Digivolution in this particular deck. So most cases in the early game, you want to, you know, flip up your egg, Digivolve into whichever rookie you have. Wormmon would be actually more ideal in this because we don't have memory tamers. And then you can Digivolve into your level 4, which is either XVmon or Stingmon, whichever works. They can Digivolve on top of blue and green, so it's really nice, or blue or green. And then now you're, say, you know, your opponent does their thing, they pass you to 1 memory. So with Wormmon, you only need 1 memory, but if you don't have Wormmon, it would be more ideal to have 3 memory, because once you're ready to go, you would push out your XVmon, and since you have XVmon, you can play your Stingmon for 3 cost. So you pass your opponent to 2, and then play your Stingmon. Afterwards, you use your end of turn effect of Wormmon, allowing you to DNA Digivolve into your Dinobemon or Imperialdramon. Now, keep in mind that Imperialdramon says level 4 and green, and then for Dinobemon, on the other hand, actually says level 4 green and blue. So you have to follow that exact procedure, meaning that XVmon will need to be at the top for Imperialdramon, and then you stack it on top of your Stingmon, and then you DNA Digivolve into your Imperialdramon. Now, whereas if you had Dinobemon, you would be stacking your Stingmon at the top of XVmon instead. So following the stack in that particular order. Now, Imperialdramon will basically have its effect to send something back to the bottom, but it's your opponent's turn, so you don't really get to swing. But let's just say if you had 3 memory to work with instead, you would pay your memory to 0 when you hard play the Stingmon, so that you can DNA in the same turn, and then your Imperialdramon can make a swing, and then restand, and then swing again, which is really nice. Or you can even, you know, swing first, and then restand, and if you want to play it safer, you can pass your opponent to 4, Digivolving it into Imperialdramon Dragon Mode. Imperialdramon Dragon Mode will allow you to play your XVmon, and then your Stingmon out here. Now keep in mind they do have Summoning Sickness, so they can't attack the same turn, even though if you have enough memory on your turn, but you pass to your opponent. Now you're set up for next turn. Next turn, you can do the same things again. You can either go into Imperialdramon or Dinobemon. So next turn, they pass you back to 1. They do whatever. You swing in here. You know, don't swing in with these guys because you definitely want to keep them so that you can DNA Digivolve in most cases, so be safe with it. So, you know, once again, DNA Digivolve into another Imperialdramon or Dino Beamon, whichever you want or whichever you have during the situation, and then swing and suspend again and deal lots of damage. So that's basically the core combo or the strategy of how you want to play the Imperialdramon starter deck with the budget variant. That will conclude for my very own deck building strategy and starter deck guide for the Ultimate Ancient Dragon starter deck, focusing on Imperialdramon. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll be making a fully competitive build of this deck and we'll be upgrading it with all the other cards within the card pool. So definitely hit that subscribe button once again and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.